Good morning and welcome to our very first special assembly of the academic year. It is, of course, this morning our Harvest Festival Assembly, where we come together and we would normally join together in song, in music and in poetry. On this occasion, remotely, we will celebrate the harvest because it is rightly a time of celebration. We will celebrate it through song, through music, through poetry, and I sincerely hope that you will enjoy what follows.
farmers here. I'm Farmer Joe.
I'm Farmer Jack.
And we're here to present a little poem about the Harvest Festival. This year's Harvest Festival, we've gathered lots of bounty. Sprouts and tomatoes, cabbages and wheat. Just standing here, I can't stand Farmer Jack's stinky feet. The machines are a-whirring, the town's children are a-learning about the Harvest Festival, where me and Farmer Jack are working plentiful.
We've worked hard throughout this year, even harder this year because of COVID. But now the harvest is here. We have all the delicious veg we've grown has grown a little bit out of size, a little bit like Farmer Joe's beard. But now we can rest until the next harvest. Ha!
Ha ha!
The Corn Song by John Whittier. Heap high the farmer's wintry hoard, heap high the golden corn. No richer gift as autumn poured from out her lavish horn. Let the other lands exhort and clean, the apple from the pine, the orange from its glossy green, the cluster from the vine.
We better love the hardy gift. We better love the hardy gift our rugs and vows bestow, to cheer us when the storm shall drift our harvest fields with snow.
Through vales of grass and meads of flowers, our ploughs their furrows made, while on the hill the suns and showers of changeful April played.
We dropped the seed o'er hill and plain, beneath the sun of May, and frightened from our sprouting grain, the robber crows away.
As I said in the introduction to our assembly, harvest is a time for true celebration. And I was astonished last week when I heard on the news about the amount of children in particular who have little or no understanding of the concept in modern society of how our food gets from field to plate. To really understand harvest, you have to climb into your time machine, and you have to rewind, and you have to go back not tens, not hundreds, but actually thousands of years to an entirely different era. A time before industrialization, a time before shops, before machinery, to a society where people relied 100% on the annual harvest. When they would sow their seeds would grow and turn into crops, and their communities could survive only if those crops could be harvested at the end of the year. And indeed, there are parts of the world today where that reliance upon the harvest is so very important. And so when the time came for the crops to be gathered in so that communities could survive through the winter months, it was indeed a time of great celebration. You fast forward to 2020, and perhaps we do not live our lives quite in the same way nowadays. But the reality is that the foods, the fruits, the vegetables that we just pop down to the shop to buy don't just appear there. An awful lot of hard work goes into the production of all the wonderful things that we can simply go out and buy. And in that respect, we are so incredibly fortunate. And I just worry that it is something that we might take for granted. And it is worth remembering as we celebrate harvest, all the work that goes in to making sure that we can indeed just pop down to the shop and buy what we want and what we need. It is also a moment in time where we should just spare a thought for all those people who are less fortunate than we are. At a time of national and international crisis, with the COVID pandemic still so rife, one hears stories every day of how hard people are finding it, not only to carry on in the same way as they lived their lives prior to the pandemic, but to carry on at all when for so many times are so very hard. And I would therefore like to thank you all most sincerely for the produce, the harvest gifts that so many of you have donated to our cause, which will now be taken down to the food bank in Birmingham and will be distributed amongst those who are vastly less fortunate than we are. So yes, harvest is a time historically and indeed today of great, great celebration, and rightly so. But it is also one of those moments where we once again should just spare a thought for all those thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world who are so vastly less fortunate than we are.
Our dustbin
as we continue our assembly, it is that time when it is a moment for reflection as we just sit silently for our harvest thought for the day. We come here today to give thanks for the good gifts of the earth, for the minerals from which so much is made, for the fruits of the earth in their seasons, and for the plants and flowers which give us so much pleasure. Give us the grace to use them rightly for our own well-being and for the relief of those in need.